refresh. And we are live. All right, let me close this out. Okay, and back here. All right, my man. So hello world, Rabu Gary here. We're back with a very, very, very good friend and mentor, Mr. Amed Hazel. Glad to have him today. For those who are watching, we are recognizing yet another Millionaire Circle earner with UIGI. Ironically, Ahmed's wife was the first lady Millionaire Circle earner with UIGI. So not only will they receive one ring in their household, they're going to get two. And we're excited about that. And we're excited for him. And you know, we'll get a chance to chat, but I just want to toot his horn real quick. There are people out there. Reality is there are a lot of people who found UIGI because they were looking to add something to their portfolio, maybe even make some extra money. What's great about Amed and Rochelle, but today we're going to talk about Amed. They're one of our phases, and we'll talk about that helps us make money. And so we're glad to have them. What's going on, Amed? How you doing?
Man, I'm so happy to be here. You know, you my guy.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. So, hey, man, we're going to jump right into this. So before we get started, let the folks know, because there are some folks who are in our group, they know you. They've had an opportunity to take your course, purchase some mortgage notes from you. That's a wonderful thing. But there are thousands of people, thank God, that follow me here on Facebook who don't know who you are. And so if you could tell them a little bit about yourself, what you do, family life, all that good stuff, then we'll jump right into our interview.
Awesome. So my name is Amed Hazel. Originally, I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. Got into the real estate space many years ago. My wife and I, we were doing fantastic, but we ran into something that was really crucial, and that was called burnout. And it's you know, like you have your plan and you're implementing your plan, but you may not take into consideration the fact that the human body only has it has limitations, and we experienced that. And so we tried to figure out a way how to stay connected to real estate, but not have to do all of the stuff that we were doing. You know, we were hiring people and trying to build staff and all of that. And we stumbled across something that is hidden from the majority of people. And that is how the banks actually make money. And they do that by buying and selling, or they may use the term trading, mortgage notes. And the way that the banks do it is the banks will be doing hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars of these transactions. And the bank may do it simply by adding a point or two, or a percentage point or two to the transaction. So when they're transferring billions of dollars and they add a percentage point, that could add up to hundreds of millions of dollars that they make in a single day. So this is constantly going on. The general public has no clue that this is happening. But what most people don't know is that the banks will sell what they call down. The banks will sell not laterally only to bank the bank, but they will sell down into something that they created called the secondary market. And that is to private companies. So with the right steps, the right language, and the right procedures to follow, you can become one of those companies that the banks sell to, and they sell these mortgages at deep discounts a lot of times.
Wow. So you became one of those companies that the bank sells to. And, you know, from doing all my research and all my due diligence and knowing multiple bankers, some here on Wall Street and, you know, in the financial district in New York, and now some in Dubai in the financial district, man, it's hard as heck to even think about getting in this space.
Yes.
How'd you do it?
You know, it was, I want to say it was by luck. I want to say it was by blessing. But essentially, I was working with, Rochelle and I was working with a famous celebrity on selling their home. And the celebrity, long story short, wind up backing out on the transaction. But the president of the bank said, "You guys are putting so much work into this. What can I do for you?" And at the time, I didn't know really a thing. I said, I'd really like to get into buying some mortgages. It was kind of a joke, but if you're going to let me in, right? So he's like, okay, let me make some phone calls for you. A week later, a guy called me from a bank and said that his friend told him about me and how hard of a worker I was, and that he'd like to sell me some mortgages. And I wind up selling or trying to sell a package to a guy that was going to buy the celebrity's home. We got cheated out of the deal, but the transaction went through. And the bank called me back and said, we'd like to thank you for making that transaction for us. It was a $25 million portfolio. We'd like to thank you for making that transaction. And I'm like, what transaction? They're like, the guy that you put on to us. I was like, oh, that went through? And he was like, yeah, it went through. I never got paid on it, but the blessing in that was that banker spread my name all through the banking world. That this guy is legitimate. He can close deals.
So even though you got jerked on the deal for over whatever the commission was on $25 million, which is probably a lot, you guys probably was going to split that down the middle or whatever. So even though you got jerked on the deal, you ended up flipping that, turning those lemons into lemonade.
Yes.
And by the grace of God, now you're the deal.
Right.
Literally. Wow, this is amazing. That's why as I introduced you, I didn't introduce you as just a friend. I introduced you as a mentor because now I get a chance to learn some of these things. And so wow. So let's jump into UIGI. And as I know, I can say that, you're married, got an amazing family. I've spent some time in your home. You've been in my home. Y'all are just great. Y'all are, as they say, salt of the earth people. Y'all are just phenomenal. And so, and Sherry and I, we love you guys deeply.
Yes, likewise.
So let's jump into this UIGI, man. So with everything you got going on, moving multiple $1 million portfolios from some of the biggest banks in the world, why UIGI?
Well, first, when you came to me with it, like I'm a purist. So I stick to what I know and what I do, and I don't really want to hear anything else, right?
That's fair.
So when you came to me, I was listening with my ears, but I wasn't really listening with my heart, if that makes sense, right? I'm just being transparent, right?
Okay.
And you and I have had many, many, many conversations, we always do. And I went to my wife and I said, Rabu was talking to me and he was telling me about this thing that he's launching. I don't quite understand it, but, maybe it's something that you should take a look at. And she's like, a Rabu and Sherry fan. She's like, I want to understand what he's talking about, put me on. So when I connected her, she came back to me and was like, do you understand what Rabu was talking about? And I was like, kind of, but not really. She's like, sit down. Let me explain this to you. She's like, let me explain this to you because this is powerful. And she started explaining it to me, but she was bumping up against my purest nature, right? So, but the more she talked to me about it, and she's like, give me your phone. Let me show you how to get into this platform. Let me show you why this is important. And she just began to take me step by step through it. And the more she did, the more I'm like, man, Rabu a genius, right? Like, Rabu a genius. So that's how we really got, I got really turned on to, the depth and the scope of what it is that you're doing and what you're implementing and have implemented for so many people. I told you when we first met, I said, there's not many people that I ever meet that can do what they say. I said, I hope you're one of those people that can do what they say. And you was like, just watch and learn. I was like, okay, we're going to see. You're one of those people that can do what they say.
Wow, that means a lot coming from you. And I don't think I know people are listening right now, and I know many of our students, many of your students and many of our UIGI members who taking your class, they understand the depths of where that comes from. But there's some folks who are watching right now. Here's the best way of saying it, to give an analogy. So let's say I'm a young basketball analogy. I'm a very, very young Kobe Bryant, okay? And I'm in high school still. Amed and Rochelle are Michael Jordan, okay? I want you guys to get that, all right? So you got to hear me when I say that. So for him to say what he just said means a lot to me. I'm honored, and it means a lot. I just want to say that. So wow. So you took a look at some of the platforms. You know, Rochelle started rock and rolling with some of them. You know, obviously we have some of our, you know, our UIGI members have become your students. I'm sure they're, you know, it's interesting. Some of our UIGI members, when I told them about mortgage notes, they're like, I can't afford that. They're like, I can't even take the course. I said, no problem. Stop saying I can't afford it. And how can we do it? They start making money with UIGI, and people start taking the course left and right, and now making deals.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So,
and well, you know, that was real important because there's a problem, a challenge in my space that you helped me overcome. And you just said it, because so many people say, I can't afford it. But Rabu was like the John the Baptist. He was like the forerunner that came and said, no, 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 no. You got to get your mind right. Let me show you how to make this happen. And when you did that, that took a big weight off of my plate, because when I teach the course, so many people say, or will say, or has said, Amed talks a lot about mindset. Well, if you have never made $1 million or $2 or $3 million in a day, then how can you even think about, you know, achieving that? You can't fathom. If I say, I'm gonna put the deal together for you, I'm gonna do all the paperwork, you just sit back and watch, the person says, yeah, right, this is impossible. But it's not impossible. And Rabu came along and said, no, let me show you how you can take the first steps to getting your mind right to be able to take this course and learn this information.
Wow, 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 wow. That's crazy. You know, when we set out to, you know, just get a couple of folks together in this social club, as we call it, we didn't know it was going to lead to this. We didn't know now it's worldwide. We didn't know we have people in India who's making $2 a week, now making $2,000 a day. You know, we didn't know this was going to happen, but I'm glad it did. And the sky's the limit. You know, literally the sky's the limit. I know you reached out to me recently about some deals that within the next month or so, I'm jumping all over, you know, and I'm making those provisions to jump all over them right now, because in the market right now that's about to change. And you know it better than I know it. I'm not into it like you guys are into it, but y'all know what's happening in the market, and more so from a paper standpoint, not from a real estate standpoint, but from a banker standpoint. Y'all really get it before the realtors get it.
Right.
You know, so I'm glad to be in your presence.
Well, let me tell you why, though, that honestly, and I say this, you know, with everything in my heart, why you are so important. What most people don't understand is that the banks, and I'm talking, if you, I want to tell you this data, and then I want to tell you a quick story. Most people don't understand that there's about 6,500 banks in the United States. And of those 6,500 banks, all of them are underwater. All of them are underwater. They couldn't even get a loan from themselves based on their own credit standards, right? This is public information. So JP Morgan Chase, I don't know if I'm allowed to say names or not, but the major banks are still trillions of dollars in debt from 2008.
Wait a minute, we're in 2021.
Yes.
And these banks are still in trillions of dollars of debt from 2008? Okay, I'm listening.
So with that being said, you know, they're holding trillions of dollars of these distressed assets, and they have something called, I'm gonna get a little technical, but they have something called allowances for loans, leases, and losses. So they have this account, a rainy day account, and they might have 10 million, 20 million in the rainy day account, but they holding $4 trillion worth of defaulted loans. That don't make sense.
Right.
You know, your gas and electric bill is $1,000 for the month and you got 50 cents in the account. That ain't gonna work.
Right.
Right. So your position is so pivotal because you're showing people an alternative way on alternative platforms on how to create wealth where they're not actually plugged into the grid. That's huge, because when the grid goes down, and it will go down, you have taught people how to operate on an alternative platform. We operate using fiat currency. We don't use money. The dollar bill hasn't been money since August of 15th of 1971, when Nixon took it off the gold standard. So it's not money, it's fiat currency. And throughout the history of mankind, 100%, 674 of the fiat currencies, 100% of them have failed. 100% of them have failed.
Wow, you know, I could go back to the day I met you. We met at Ty Lopez's penthouse in New York. And you know, we had a chance to chat, and I was, you know, we were chatting, and I told you my goals, and I said, you know, I want to own next year about 35 rental properties. And you said to me, why own doorknobs when you can own paper? And I had no clue what that is,
right?
Or what that was at the time. But now I know, and now the world gets to hear this because you accomplished, you know, such a feat as this ring. You know, everything happens for a reason. There are people who are listening to this right now who are bankers, who are probably agents and things of that nature, didn't know this. Right. You know, but from a small interview, you know, we get to share this. And I'm sure from this interview, folks who want to take your course. I'm telling them, if you're watching right now, not only do you want to join Amed and his wife at UIGI, you also want to take their course, if for nothing else, to put you in a space, because you guys are making money. But people are making more money than I've ever seen in a long time, but they just don't know where to park it or even turn it into more money. That's why they're joining us. Right. But it's amazing.
So let me just tell you this quick story. I was on a Zoom with some high profile people. They were all over the world. So the Zoom, they had to have it after midnight. I was so tired and exhausted. I was like, I don't want to have this Zoom, but I got on the Zoom and I was talking to the guy, and I mentioned the name of that bank that I mentioned and what their stats were. And he says, I don't believe that. He said, as a matter of fact, he was a pastor. He said, one of the VPs of that bank is, you know, one of my members. He said, get her on the phone. He told his assistant, get her on the phone. So it's midnight. So they patched this lady in. She made a mistake and hit her camera button. She's laying in the bed with her bonnet on, right? And her night clothes. And she's a VP of the bank. And he said, now tell the stats again. And I mentioned the stats. And she said, what Amed Hazel was saying is true. As a matter of fact, he's one of 5 people that buy loans from our bank. She said, I know exactly who he is. I didn't know her, but she knew me.
Wow. Wow.
So the information is public information. You can just Google it. Banks that have low credit scores, like the information is out there. And what we're saying to people is a property can go down in value, but a mortgage note can't, because it's a legal document. The only way that it can diminish in value is if a judge strips it of its value. Other than that, outside of a court and a judge, the paper value is what it is. So we can buy, sell, and trade this paper all day long. We get controllership without ownership. I don't want to own doorknobs.
That's right.
Responsibility comes with that. When I own the paper, I just get capital in.
Wow. 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 So listen, guys, if you're watching right now, Ahmed and his wife, Rochelle, when we talk about our phases in UIGI, they're one of the phases. See, a lot of people think that, and for those who watch, a lot of people think that we deal in just crypto. And some of you don't want to touch crypto. You're like, that's too risky. That's not my wheelhouse. Don't want to do it. But we have mortgage notes too. This is real estate on steroids, period. We have e-commerce with Amazon stores, names, Walmart stores, names, we collect precious metals. But one of our cornerstones for our long-term money, and for those who understand money, one of the best places to park money is in real estate, period. But most people, some people know how to get into it on the lower level, but now we're getting into it on a high level, but you don't have to be someone like Ahmed, because even if I had, $90 million sitting aside, what are the chances of me walking into Bank of America, JP Morgan, Chase, and say, hey, I want to buy some mortgage notes? Will it happen?
Well, the reason that it won't happen is what their mindset is this. And sorry for the noise, my landscapers are here. But what their mindset is this. When they sell you a mortgage note, they are delivering to you the person's credit history, the person's social security card number, a picture of their driver's license, their bank account information, any references or anything that person used to apply for that loan, that bank is now delivering to you because they now see you as another bank. So the main thing that they want to avoid is identity theft.
Okay.
So if you have $90 million or whatever, they don't care about that. They need to see and know that you have a track record, that you have the financial wherewithal to handle these deals, the security, and everything that goes along with it. So it's important. And they scrutinize you, FBI background checks, they go back through your entire educational history back to when you were a child. They're looking at everything to say no. And if you're not A1 in their eyesight, then they want to say no.
No matter how much money you got.
No matter how much money you got.
Wow. 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 See, every interview is different. When we interview a millionaire ring earner, millionaire circle earner, every interview is different. I have no clue that we were going to go in this direction, but this is amazing. This is amazing. Well, hey, even though you and your wife, you're working in phases together, let me ask you, because I always get asked this question, what's your favorite phase that we have other than the phase that you guys bring to the table?
So I'm really loving 7K metals. Yeah, I'm really loving 7K metals because I understand that it's real money. Yeah, I understand it. And I've always been a precious metal collector anyway. So I already had a lot. My dad started me a collection back when I was a baby. So I have foreign coins, from many different countries, and antique coins. So a lot of Morgan silver dollars, that he collected for me. And that being in 7K metals, my dad has passed on, but being in 7K metals, that is kind of like a connection for me to him.
Right. Wow. That's amazing. I love 7K metals as well. They just did a training here in New Jersey. Richard Bruff, my personal accountant, I'm sure you've had conversations with Richard.
Yes.
He came here and they did a great training, and he'll be in Orlando too.
Yep.
You
And
know,
Richard took the note course too.
oh yeah, Richard's a sharp guy, man. He's for those who know his background, he's audited government agencies. You know, so well, state agencies. So it's amazing. It's amazing. We have a good tight circle of great people, and that's a blessing in itself. And so hey, as we close this one out, what would you tell a person who's looking at UIGI for the first time, who's doing their due diligence, which is fair, who's looking at all the platforms that we have? What would you tell that person? What advice would you give?
So you have to take the first step. And sometimes with information, especially different information that you might not be real familiar with, you might not be familiar with the terminology, you might not be familiar with the platforms, but you have to start, right? You have to start because the world is changing and it's not waiting for anyone. And with UIGI, what UIGI is offering is a way to come in at a small investment and begin to learn essentially for free. So why not begin to take the steps to changing how you think the world operates and get on track to this new fast-paced world that we're entering? Wow.
And I always sometimes forget to say this for those who are watching. UIGI, we're not an investment firm. Now, Amed, he's a SEC regulated hedge fund. Okay, that's not us. All right. UIGI, we're a social club. We find platforms that are reputable, like Ahmed's platform. Okay, and we share them with our group the same way you would share something over a dinner at Top Golf or Morton Steakhouse. That's all we do, okay? And so we don't give financial advice. We're not financial planners, none of the above. But what we will share is opportunities that we've used for our family that's made money for us. And it's like a whisper down the lane thing. And we just find a way to share with folks. And it's been absolutely incredible.
Yes. Incredible. And you know, because we make money, we keep our eye on money. So we're just not like, you know, in our home throwing up stacks of $100 bills, right? We keep our eye on it. And when I started hearing Rochelle say, oh, you know, I just made 1,500. Oh, I just made 3,000. Oh, I just made 6,000. I'm like, what you talking about, Willis? What you talking about? She's like, well, you know, what the platform? I'm like, what platform? She's like, take a look. And I'm like, so why am I not in that? She's like, I don't know, why aren't you in this? I'm like, okay, sit me down and explain this, because if not, I'm gonna be calling Rabu in a few minutes. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing being a member.
Wow. Well, man, it's always a pleasure. You know, I'm back in the saddle. Last couple of weeks, I've been working on health. I won't even say health issues, but your boy's rock and roll, and I'm moving on 100 cylinders right now, and I'm excited about that. And thanks for the well wishes and everything as well. And so, hey, I got a couple more of these to do. Man, it's been a pleasure as always. Can't wait to see the both of you in Orlando.
Yes.
Then we'll be coming through Atlanta also. Tigers is going to a concert out there. So I remember the days, if I, you know, it's funny, when I was a kid, I only went to one concert in my life. That's all we could afford.
Right.
I saw the late great Biz Markie, Big Daddy Kane, Salt and Pepper, all at Newark School Stadium, right? That was the only concert. Then when I became an adult, the next concert I went to was the Bad Boy concert. Here it is, my daughter's 13 years old, and we're about to jump on a plane and take her to a darn concert.
Right.
Things changed, man.
Things have changed, and it's the same way with my kids. But you know, my first concert was "Here Come the Lords, Here Come the Lords, Here Come the Lords." You
know, that's my cousin.
I know.
Yeah, Mr. Funky Turk, Tariq, that's my cousin. Wow, and he's part of UIGI as well.
Wow, yep, that was one of the first concerts. I think they were performing with Public Enemy. So this was back in '88, I believe.
And your kids have probably been to 20 concerts to our one, right?
Yep.
Man. Well, brothers, always a pleasure. Please tell your incredible wife, Sherry and I, we send our love, we say hi. We can't wait to see you guys in a minute. And I appreciate you taking the time to be interviewed as one of the newest millionaire ring earners with UIGI. Thanks, bro.
I'm proud to be here. Thank you so much.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right.